Good evening. This is Group 3 for Discussion 3 for EDA 522. I'm Dan Fitzgerald.
I'm Alyssa. And I'm Rebecca.
And we're supposed to discuss our ongoing work with our two students, our target students, and any challenges and how it's just going, and then any challenges that have popped up with our students. So let's start with, what are we like? 11 weeks into our semester now, right? So that's a lot of time. What has worked for you guys so far?
So I'll start. So with my first student who has fine motor skill deficiency, I decided to implement wider lined loose leaf paper for written assignments. So there's more space between the lines for him to write. Also an adapted pencil grip. And then I also scanned in his music, like because I'm a chorus teacher, and printed it out with lined sheets of paper on either side. So it's like music in the middle and lined paper on the side for him to write notes, because usually the kids write notes in their sheet music, but it's a really cramped space and it wasn't working for him. And that all of those seem to be working for him. He doesn't like high-tech solutions because it makes him feel different than the other kids, so low-tech seems to be the way to go. And then for my other student who has oppositional defiance disorder and ADHD and just a bunch of organizational issues, we implemented a coding, like a color coding system for his Trapper Keeper binder. And then we also implemented, and so he always was going to class late because he was spending the last 5 minutes of class cleaning up, and then he was late to the next class. So we had him set an alarm on his wristwatch, and then I gave him a checklist at the end of class to say, did you put your folder away? Did you push your chair in? Do you have your jacket? So he wouldn't forget anything and he would be on time for his next class. And then the last thing I added was, because he fidgets a lot, is a foam squish ball as like his fidget object. And all of them seem to be working pretty well for him as well.
Perfect. For me, two things for each of my students. I'll just name one for each. For my one student, I noticed with her handwriting, it was a little difficult, and she was not receiving occupational therapy services at the time. But I started with adapted paper, and seriously, her writing has gotten so much better, and even her math. I used adapted grid paper, so like big squares, so it helps her set up her columns and all that, especially since they're getting into fractions. It's been really positive for her. So using the graph paper and that adapted paper. And actually, so funny now, we just had a reevaluation done for her, and I said, OT, you need to look at her, and now she's getting OT services. So that's perfect. My other student too, one good thing positive for him is I started note taking, using printed notes and then using a highlighter to track along. His grammar has gone up a lot, his grade, because he's now, I think, instead of focusing on copying all the notes, he's now retaining more of the information being spoken to him, like by the teacher. Like he's able to absorb that.
Cool. Yeah, my two students, we've been using a computer program all year. I teach general ed, so I don't have students with too many diagnosed disabilities, at least. But we use a computer program for math. For two of my lowest kids, they do amazing on this program, and they have all year long. And in fact, when I informed them that, like, I didn't say it out, I told them separately to themselves, like, hey, they know I'm in school, and I say, I'm in school, and I have to do a project, and I've really focused on how you guys work on the computer because you guys do so well on it. And they were both like honored, you know what I mean? They're both like really hot. They were like, oh, really? Like, I'm a part of your class. Like, the one girl's actually like, wait, am I in trouble? I was like, no. You're really good at math on the computer, like that's an awesome thing. And I have to like write down some data from you. And she was like, oh, that's really cool. I was like, all right, good. So, they're motivated even by knowing that this kind of thing exists, I think, like studying students who are good at certain things and need help with certain things. So, it's been obviously something that's been ongoing before this course started, but it's something that just helps them so much, and it's really cool to see. So, so what hasn't worked? What's something that you would change or All right, let's start with what hasn't worked. What's something that's popped up for you?
So honestly, for me, most things have worked. For my student with the fine motor skills, the wider lined paper, the pencil grip, and the lined paper printed next to the sheet music all worked for him. If I had to say something didn't work, I would say that it took him a little bit longer to adjust to the lined paper next to the sheet music, just visually learning like, okay, this is where she wants me to write this in the music, measure 24. I need to write it next to measure 24. But that's not really something that didn't work. And then for my other student with the oppositional defiance and ADHD, I would say his issue is at the end of class leaving on time. So even with the checklist and the alarm, he still sometimes has trouble, or he'll forget something, like he might forget his behavior point sheet. And he might have to come back for it. So sometimes, even though you're leaving on time, if you're not remembering everything, you're still going to have to come back, and you're still going to be late to the next class. So I think just double checking right before he leaves, like, do you have everything good on the list one more time, might be helpful for him. But he's doing pretty well with it.
My school does a lot of the behavior trackers too, like a lot of them. Where the point where like one or two you can handle, but like I have one class where like 7 kids have trackers, so you spend 10 minutes filling them out.
Right.
And every time there's one left on my desk, or I throw one on another teacher's desk, the teacher's tracking those things is difficult, like, even for the students
Right.
too.
Right, exactly.
I do like I'm emotional support at my school, so we're all about behavior trackers. And one thing I do like about getting the older grades, I've steered my kids away more of me doing the behavior thing. Like I like try to do the independence, like have them kind of self-reflect and do it themselves instead. And honestly, my one kid, I actually started a what do they call QR codes?
Yeah.
Like if you have Google Forms, you can actually make a Google form of like the behavior checklist, so they can just do their iPad, they do the scan a QR code, and then just and then you have all the data there too. It gives you like either a pie graph or a bar graph of all the information.
How is that not your technology that you're using for this course? That's amazing.
Yeah, that isn't. And I actually started it this year.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it's a good idea. Google Forms. It's awesome.
I use Google Forms all the time. Yeah, but you could actually have so they can do it and they can type it in the computer or in the tablet.
Yeah, so every kid has an iPad, so I was like, why not? So I just put the QR code on their case or on their folder, and they just scan it and either do it with me or do it themselves. So if I know how their day is and they're like, I had a star day, I'm like, let's go back and look at this. And they're like, caught. So
that's cool. We're a PC district, so we don't do like iPads. We have laptops, but that's a really cool thing to implement.
Yeah. So I mean, you could probably find like a PC type. Type of thing. Right.
Yeah.
So what hasn't worked?
Yeah. For me, what hadn't worked for me in the beginning was one of my students that I did he was having trouble comprehending the grade 4 worksheets that come with our program. So independent work was a little hard for him. Like he has the listening comprehension, but it's the reading and then comprehending, which was a struggle. So we decided to do the speech selection on the iPad. It comes right with the iPad, so it's perfect. It's free. They already have iPads. The problem was with our Reading Wonders program, I had to get the tech involved, our tech for the district, to convert all of the worksheets online to PDFs so that they could open them through iBooks. So we could like Dropbox the worksheets to the iBooks, and then the speech selection worked in iBooks. For some reason, it didn't work on the actual Canvas that we have. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Canvas. We have Canvas. Okay. That's what my school district.
In my undergrad.
What school district do you work in again?
Ridley School District in Delaware County.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So it's called Canvas. So every kid has a log on. They log on to Canvas. That's where our Reading Wonders program is. Everyday math. It's everything.
That's
but
cool.
For some reason, the speech selection on the screen, it doesn't let you select the text to read it to you. So she converted all the worksheets to PDFs for me. Okay. For 4th grade at least.
Yeah.
And then you just Dropbox them to iBooks. So figuring that all out took a while. And then like the one time we were trying to Dropbox to his iPad and it wasn't working. And so then it basically took all of the workstation time just to figure out that one day. So we were having technical difficulties in the beginning. So
yeah, one thing that is I teach 7th grade, and that's a big like transition year for just young people. You know what I mean? Like that point in their lives, the beginning of 7th grade to the end of 7th grade is
rough.
a million years. Yeah,
I remember 7th grade.
yeah, it's not good for anybody. But like you just see this, they come in as like immature, and by this point in the year, they think of themselves as like 8th graders ready for high school, and they're not wrong. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
So they turn into the worst people sometimes too. So that's happening now for my 7th grade. And so my 2 target students, the thing that has kind of gotten in their way is just like behavior stuff. And so my data that I get from them isn't as reliable maybe as it was in the beginning of the year when they were a little more compliant with like, I'm just going to work on the computer for 25 minutes. Right. Now it's they log on and then they kind of like do that. They turn the computer, you know what I mean? So you're not, you know what I mean? Like that's happening more for all the students, and they're just getting in on that too. So the behavior part of it is getting in the way of the academic part, even though the academic part is still there. Instead of seeing them do 45 minutes a week, now it's like, 27 minutes a week. And I have to like kind of keep coaxing them and stuff like that. So that's regular. That happens to every kid every year. Yeah. So that's not an abnormal challenge, but that's something that kind of messed with my data a little bit. So. All right. We got a couple minutes left. So what would you do when you have to take EDA 522 again? What would you do differently next time?
What would I do differently? I'm not really sure what I would do differently, honestly. I think I've kind of gotten a handle of the AT that I need to use for these kids. I think coincidentally, all of it is sort of low tech, not intentionally. I might explore some high tech options, although in my school, low tech seems easiest because if we're going to get a laptop, we might need, we have to rent out the laptop cart and sign it out, even just for like one student. So that can be more problematic than useful, unless the student really excels at it. So I would say I would do the same thing, honestly.
Yeah. All right. Good. That's perfect. Yeah, I'm a high tech school district, so it's like so funny to see the difference. But for one thing that I would do differently is definitely the training for staff. So when I was doing the speech to text device with the iPad, I didn't expect to have to need the tech support. I didn't think I needed to involve her. I didn't think I needed to involve the regular ed teacher as much as I did. I mean, I was going to teach the regular ed teacher too, because that's where we co-teach in that, and we use it in that classroom. But I didn't realize the training that we all needed and to fully understand it before introducing it to my target student. Because at first, I think he was too overwhelmed with it because he didn't know it either. And we're like, use it now, use it now, so excited, but it was not good. And then another quick thing too that happened that I learned from, and we'll do it differently, is I was like, oh, speech selection for everything. So before his reading tests, so far they're still in 4th grade level. I can't get them lower yet. We're working on that as well. For kids who are on lower reading levels taking a reading test that's not on their level. So I would have him read it out loud to me, and then I would help him with all the words that he didn't know, which was a lot. So then I was like, oh, speech select your test, and here he was letting it read them, but then he's like this, not looking at the words, and then he failed the test. So I'm like, I thought you were gonna do so much better, So I was teaching him to then properly how to use it correctly to benefit them.
What I would do, I short-sightedly, both my kids are using the same exact technology in class, and I wish I had, just from filling out forms and doing papers, I wish I had a little more diversity with what I was implementing. I would pick, in hindsight, I would pick one kid to just do the iReady program, that I would just target one kid with that. Yeah. And just listening to you guys talk about pencil grips, I have 2 kids who their handwriting is so horrible, and they're perfectly on level. One kid actually is very, very good at math, and his handwriting looks like graffiti. It's horrible. And the pencil grip thing, I even talked to him about it. I was like, they make these things that go in your pencil that help you write. And he was yeah, I'm not a dork. I'm not using that. And it was kind of
7th grade, so.
7th grade, yeah. But that was something that I wish I could have seen as this is an opportunity to help the kid, number one, but also this would give me a better look at a little more diversity with my research and my work in the class. So,
you know what? A suggestion too. I know you're 7th grade, but just in the future for like the pencil grips. A lot of my kids, I know 4th grade is still different, but even my 5th graders, like, they have like cool things too that you can put on a pencil that are fidgets. Like,
we have them. Yeah.
Okay, so like, I feel like if you put that on a
like
pencil, like my one kid, it's like a screw top, and you just flick the screw around the pencil. It's kind of cool.
Ah.
Yeah, our girls have them. Like they have like little plastic jewels that go on top of them. They're not fidgets.
Okay, yeah. But like if you like add that with the pencil grip, like you can't even tell that the bottom part is helping him because you have the top part that's kind of cool. So
okay, I think we're at 16 or 17 minutes.
Oh wow! Oh my gosh!
All right.
All right. Well, there you go.
Very good.
Yeah.